It's early. It's July. It's mid-July. We're far away from anything interesting happening. People are just, trying to make up stories and talk about whatever. But, there's a lot that still needs to happen. Training camp, other signings, whatever. But how are you feeling about this team right now? I guess first question is, do you think they're better than last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're better, but it's always the caveat of health, right? It's like if you kind of just go like one by one of like who's replacing who, obviously CP3 is replacing Jordan Poole. I think that's an upgrade, at least for what they wanted Jordan to do, which is run the second unit and then provide kind of like some stability off of the bench, which he didn't really do at all last year, which is probably one of the main reasons they were disappointed in him. But I think CP3 can definitely do a better job there. So I think that's an upgrade, assuming health. Corey Joseph is kind of like what I'm seeing as the not necessarily one of my players I didn't like, which is Ty Jerome. So I think that's an upgrade.
Yeah.
I think he can. The reason I feel like Kerr liked Ty Jerome, not necessarily because of his skill, but it was just more the fact that he didn't turn the ball over a lot, and you kind of like trust him to not do something stupid. Which I think this is kind of like what they're trying to slot in for like Corey Joseph. So I think that's an upgrade. Pajemski is kind of seeing as like a replacement for Dante DiVincenzo. So I think maybe Dante is better than Pajemski, at least at this point in his career. So that's going to be a downgrade. Jackson Davis is probably JaMychal Green's replacement. I think he's going to be able to contribute more than JaMychal Green, at least kind of like down low and being able to kind of be in the second unit and, still flow in the offense and he's not going to be the 3-point shooter JaMychal Green is, but at least as far as rebounding, finishing at the rim, like that extra big off of the bench. I think that's an upgrade.
Then you got Saric.
And then Saric, Saric is that's probably more of the JaMychal Green replacement, just kind of like camping out at the 3-point line, hitting the open shot. And then you got Jackson Davis is maybe one of those guys. Is either one, Saric or Davis, is taking like Lamb's role.
Thank God. Yeah.
So I think we went from a lot of young players. I think Steph mentioned it too. Like this team's just a lot more mature.
Yeah. I definitely think they're better. Again, caveat of health, and I talk about this too, especially like in the West. There's some really veteran-laden teams that are dependent on health, like the Lakers, the Warriors, the Suns, and I think whoever like comes out, I mean, can get to the playoffs healthy and with the freshest legs, that they'll have the best chance. Like that's what happened in 2022, right? And of course, like the Nuggets are young still, and so are the Kings and the Grizzlies. But I think the Warriors are better. Largely because you look at all the things that were problematic. I think Dunleavy touched on this a little bit, but if you just look at everybody talks about CP3 and will he fit? And I've discussed this before. We're like, with Jordan Poole, the Warriors, they were predictable with their second unit because he could plug in and he could do what Steph or what Clay does. So there were never any other looks like the Livingston, the David West looks. You know what I mean? So now they have Chris Paul, who could run pick and roll, who could be a little bit more ball dominant and run just a stable offense. So fewer turnovers, better, more stable second unit play, assuming he's going to be, well, he'll definitely be in there with the second unit. Question of whether or not he's going to start is still on the table. And I think that if you look at the core, like Clay, for as much flack as he's caught, he was bad in that Lakers series, but he was really good up until Game 6 of the first round, right? He was playing really well in those first 5 games. Game 6, everybody stunk. Game 7, that was Steph's game, and then Lakers series was just bad. But if like if he's still who he was for the most part last season, same with Steph, Draymond, yes, then cool, and then if you look at the record, I mean, you have to toss the road record last season, right? Because they're so bad on the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, people were theorizing that other teams, yes, they're getting up for the champs. Oh, they were just shooting so much better against the Warriors. Home teams do, but basically the Warriors just didn't like each other. They didn't enjoy being around each other, and that mojo, even though like the team, the organization was gaslighting everybody, saying like, no, it's not that. It was that. So you have to scrap that, and unless Draymond punches somebody else. Or Chris Paul and Draymond don't get along or something, then you have to assume that road record is going to be like much, much better. And so, I think that they're up there. I mean, I was surprised. I don't know if you saw on The Athletic that some writer ranked them third in the league. I'd have to see it first. They could be, depending on how they, like how those legs are on all those dudes. But now I put them top 5, top 6, in the whole NBA at this point. And if, to me, like it's health, but also like if Kuminga and Moses Moody, if they break right, you know what I mean? If they actually get playing time, if the best versions of themselves, like the Moody we saw in the playoffs and the Kuminga we saw before Wiggins and Gary Payton came back, the Kuminga that was getting 25 plus minutes a game, then I think they're good. I think they're better. And I've said this on the group text, like I think they're better already than the 2022 team. Because that team was not a world beating team. That was like a team that had some good matchups, and Steph played otherworldly in a lot of games, and then Wiggins in some other series. But the unfortunate thing is like, the rest of the league, the top of the rest of the league is better than 2022, right?
Yep. Yeah. But I think you touched on a couple of things, though, that one, Wiggins missed like 2 months last year. Like if he didn't miss that 2 months, who knows what our record would have been. And then the other thing is the whole Kuminga, Moses Moody kind of growth. I think with Chris Paul, he's going to make a really big difference with those two guys. What I was kind of like thinking back on last year, Kuminga kind of really flourished when Wiggins was out because he was playing a lot with the starters, and he kind of like found his little niche playing with those guys. But when he kind of went back to the bench is kind of when he started to struggle more, because I think he felt like on the bench squad, like I got to be the dude, kind of like more of that, and then kind of almost also competing with Jordan Poole, who kind of was like super ball dominant, not really wanting, or not necessarily wanting, but not really focusing on kind of like setting up the rest of the team. So kind of like the way I see Chris Paul, he's the ultimate point guard, where he's going to be just like setting up his teammates. So he's going to be putting, Kuminga, Moody, just like in a really good position to make the game easy for them. Basically, I think that's what they need. They need someone to kind of like make the game easier for them, and kind of like what I was noticing last year. Not that even Moody got a lot of playing time, but whenever at least Poole and like Kuminga were on the floor, it almost seemed like a competition of like who's going to outshine who. So like those things combined, I think those guys are going to be better. Wiggins, of course, is hopefully going to play more along Iron Man 82 games, or at least 70 something that he's kind of been known for throughout his career.
And I mean, they get a full season of a hopefully healthy Gary Payton II. I mean, I think that having him only for like a smidgen of the end of the season, and then he wasn't 100%. I don't know if he's just hitting 30 and his athleticism's going, or that core muscle injury hindered his leaping ability and quicks. But that helps as well. And you're right. Like, I think the on-court chemistry and the facilitation, I don't remember Jordan Poole trying to set up anybody. You know what I mean? Yes, he would pass. Yes, he would drive and kick. But, it's something that's, I think definitely the young dudes will benefit. Do you think they're better than 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're better in 2022. I would only say one thing that kind of has me worried is the coaching staff this year. We lost like a lot of people on the coaching staff, and kind of like how to find those replacements. I don't think they mentioned like who's going to replace who, but like losing Mike Brown last year, was a big hit. And then again, this offseason that we just had now or having now, I think we lost like two assistants.
And also, they lost Jama and also that guy Nick Uren.
Yeah.
Right. And he went to the was it
WNBA?
Yeah, and he was the one that famously came up with was it Andrew Bogut guarding Tony Allen? Yeah.
Tony Allen.
So, that was his idea. What grade at this point do you put on the Warriors off season?
I give it a B. I give it a solid B. I mean, nothing too splashy, but they, good at it. Their team's better, so you can't really say, it's a C. To me, C is you're just kind of as good as you were last year.
Yeah. I've given them a B plus. Once they got Saric, it bumped up to a B plus for me, and I'm looking forward to the season starting.
We didn't talk about Saric that much. I mean, I think a lot of us were kind of on pins and needles, hoping he would sign. Kind of got lost in the shuffle because of summer league, but I'm pretty excited for him too. I mean, I didn't really watch him a lot last year, but kind of based on pre-injury, he seems like he's fits the role of kind of what we had in Bellinelli. Or not Bellinelli. Bielitsa.
Yeah, Bellinelli. Bellinelli, who a couple years ago didn't want to sign back with the Warriors. Yeah, I mean that's huge, right? Like I think just having a big in general, another big, even though he's not like somebody who's going to pound inside, he's just another big body, and then somebody who can play with Chris Paul, who's played with Chris Paul before, who can shoot from outside, also has health issues, but can pass and will be good in the Warriors offense, and then also like in pick and roll stuff. So I'm actually really looking forward to this version of the team. And the vets got what they wanted. They got a quote unquote more mature team, and they unloaded some of the young guys who were just projects, not because those kids aren't good, but because circumstances and Kerr made them projects and all that stuff. I'm encouraged. I'm looking forward to training camp, even though that's a couple months away. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about for all the rest of the time. Yeah,
everyone's on vacation.
Yeah.